We need someone more dynamic, Michael Parker said, not quite meeting my eyes across his sleek desk. The tech industry moves fast, Catherine. Maybe it's time to consider a different field. I sat there, stunned, staring at the termination papers he just slid across to me. 23 years at Vertex Software, and this was how it ended. Dynamic? I repeated, my voice steady despite the anger building inside me. I just led the team that delivered our most successful product launch ever. Michael, 15 years my junior and CEO for barely 6 months, gave me that condescending smile I'd grown to hate. The industry is changing. We need young blood, fresh perspectives. Someone who can connect with our younger demographic. Young blood. Fresh perspectives. Pretty words for what this really was. You mean you need someone younger, I said flatly. I'm 45, Michael, not dead. He shifted uncomfortably. Your severance package is generous. 3 months' salary plus. Save it. I stood up, gathering my dignity along with my papers. You'll regret this decision. He actually laughed, a short dismissive sound that made my blood boil. Catherine, let's be professional about this. You've had a great run. But it's time to step aside for the next generation. I walked out of his office without another word, past the curious stares of my colleagues, past the desk where I'd spent countless late nights building Vertex into what it was today. My daughter Olivia's latest text glowed on my phone. How'd the meeting go, Mom? Olivia, 23, brilliant and newly graduated with dual degrees in computer science and business. She'd been telling me for months that Vertex was changing, that the new management didn't value experience. I defended them, loyal to the end. I texted back, we need to talk. 2 hours later, I sat in my kitchen watching Olivia pace back and forth like a caged tiger. Her dark hair, so like mine at her age, swung with each turn. They can't do this, she fumed. It's age discrimination. It's illegal. We should sue. And spend years in court. I shook my head. No, I have a better idea. She stopped pacing. What? I smiled, feeling the first stirrings of a plan. Remember that startup idea you pitched me last month? The one about adaptive learning software? Neural dynamics? Olivia's eyes lit up. Of course. I've been refining the concept, building out the architecture. How close are you to a working prototype? She sat down across from me, excitement building in her voice. I could have something basic in 3 months, but Mom, we need funding, infrastructure. I have savings, I said. And more importantly, I have 23 years of industry connections. People who owe me favors. People who might be very interested in supporting a company that actually values experience. Olivia stared at me for a long moment. You're serious. Michael Parker thinks I'm too old for this industry. I pulled out my laptop. Let's prove him wrong. The next 3 months were a blur of activity. While Olivia worked on the prototype, I reached out to my network. To my surprise and vindication, many were eager to help. It seemed I wasn't the only one troubled by the industry's obsession with youth. Marcus Chen, my old mentor from my early days at Vertex, now ran a venture capital firm. Adaptive learning software with an experienced team behind it. Count me in. But Catherine, he paused, why not put yourself as CEO? Why Olivia? I smiled. Because nothing will prove my point better than having my 2 old ideas succeed under my daughter's leadership. We set up shop in a small office park across town from Vertex. Neural Dynamics. Olivia insisted on keeping the name, started with 10 employees, all experienced developers who'd been aged out of their previous positions. 4 months in, we had our first working prototype. It was revolutionary, software that actually adapted to each user's learning style, growing and evolving with them. Perfect for both corporate training and educational institutions. While Olivia led the technical team, I handled business development. My industry contacts proved invaluable. Within 6 months, we had our first major client, a Fortune 500 company looking to overhaul their training systems. The success of that first implementation led to others. Neural Dynamics grew rapidly, but smartly. We hired based on talent and experience, not age. Our office became a mix of youth and wisdom, each learning from the other. 1 year after being fired from Vertex, I sat in our new headquarters, a renovated warehouse with exposed brick walls and open workspaces, reviewing our latest acquisition proposal. Mom. Olivia burst into my office, her face flushed with excitement. You need to see this. She handed me her tablet. On the screen was a news article. Vertex Software reports fourth quarter losses, stock plummets. I skimmed the article. Vertex was struggling. Their last 3 product launches had failed to meet expectations. Customer satisfaction was down. And buried in the middle of the article was a telling quote from an anonymous employee. The new management doesn't understand the complexity of enterprise software. They're all flash, no substance. Olivia perched on the edge of my desk. They're looking for a lifeline. Rumor is they're approaching companies for potential buyouts or partnerships. I leaned back in my chair, a plan forming. What would you say to acquiring their enterprise division? Her eyes widened. Can we afford it? After next week's IPO, I smiled. Easily. But that's not the best part. What is? Michael Parker would have to interview with you to keep his position. Olivia's grin turned wicked. When do we start? I picked up my phone and dialed Marcus. Time to make an offer they can't refuse. The wheels were set in motion. Our IPO the following week exceeded all expectations. Turns out investors appreciated a tech company that valued experience. Neural Dynamics was now worth billions, and we were about to turn the tables on Vertex. But first, we had to arrange a meeting. One that would remind Michael Parker that age was just a number, and karma was very, very real. The Vertex software lobby hadn't changed. Same modern art on the walls, same sleek furniture, same air of desperate trendiness. But this time, I wasn't here as an employee. I was here as the owner of their potential salvation. Ms. Wilson. The receptionist smiled brightly. The board is ready for you in the main conference room. I nodded, adjusting my designer blazer. The same room where I presented countless times during my 23 years here, but today was different. Actually, I said, I'll wait for my CEO to arrive. She's leading the presentation. The receptionist blinked, clearly not expecting that. I enjoyed her confusion as I sat down, checking my phone for Olivia's latest text. Stuck in traffic, 5 minutes away. Don't start without me. Right on cue, Michael Parker emerged from the elevator, his face tight with stress. He'd aged in the past year. Amazing what running a company into the ground could do to someone. Catherine? He stopped short, staring at me. What are you doing here? I smiled pleasantly, waiting for a meeting. You know, despite being so old, I can still manage that much. He flushed. Listen, about last year. Ms. Wilson. The receptionist cut in. Your CEO has arrived. Olivia strode through the front doors like she owned the place, which if things went according to plan, she soon would. She wore a black power suit that made her look older than her 24 years. But her youth was still apparent. Michael's eyes widened as she approached. I could see him processing, wondering why someone so young was leading a company wealthy enough to acquire Vertex. Mom, Olivia smiled, kissing my cheek. Sorry I'm late. Traffic was terrible. She turned to Michael, her expression cooling. Mr. Parker, I presume. I watched the blood drain from his face as the pieces clicked into place. Mom, he choked out. Shall we head to the conference room? I suggested brightly. I believe the board is waiting. The boardroom was packed. 8 nervous-looking board members sat around the massive table, with Michael's seat conspicuously empty at the head. As we entered, I recognized most of them, the same people who'd rubber-stamped my termination a year ago. Olivia took control immediately, standing at the front of the room with the confidence of someone twice her age. Good morning, everyone. I'm Olivia Wilson, CEO of Neural Dynamics. I believe you all know my mother, Catherine. The board members shifted uncomfortably. One of them, Harold Matthews, who'd been my ally before Michael took over, actually had the grace to look ashamed. Let's cut to the chase, Olivia continued, pulling up our presentation. Vertex's market value has dropped 60% in the past year. Your last 3 products have failed. You're losing customers to more innovative competitors. She paused. Like us. Michael, who'd slunk into his chair at the head of the table, spoke up. We've had some temporary setbacks. Temporary? Olivia raised an eyebrow. Your best developers have left. Your enterprise customers are jumping ship. And your attempt to modernize by pushing out experienced employees has backfired spectacularly. She clicked to the next slide, showing Neural Dynamics growth charts. Meanwhile, our company, led by the people you discarded, has captured 30% of the enterprise market in just 1 year. The board members leaned forward, studying the numbers with increasing interest. Harold Matthews let out a low whistle. "We're prepared to acquire Vertex's enterprise division," Olivia announced. "Full purchase, generous terms. We'll retain most employees, though," she smiled coldly at Michael. "There will need to be some changes in management." "This is absurd," Michael sputtered. "You can't seriously expect." "Neural Dynamics is now valued at $4.2 billion. I cut in smoothly. More than 10 times Vertex's current market cap. I'd say we can expect quite a lot." Silence fell over the room. "The deal is simple," Olivia continued. "We'll absorb your enterprise division, retain your client base, and integrate your remaining viable products into our ecosystem. Current employees will be evaluated for positions within Neural Dynamics." She paused. "Including you, Mr. Parker." Michael's face went from red to white. "You expect me to interview for a position in my own company?" "No," Olivia corrected. "You'll be interviewing for a position in my company. Assuming you're not," she glanced at me with a small smirk, "too old for the industry." I bit back a laugh as Michael slumped in his chair, defeated. Harold Matthews cleared his throat. "I move that we take a brief recess to discuss the terms." "Of course," Olivia nodded. "Take all the time you need. Though I should mention, 3 of your largest competitors have already expressed interest in similar deals." We stepped out into the hallway, leaving the board to their deliberations. As soon as the door closed, Olivia turned to me with a grin. "Did you see his face? I thought he was going to pass out." I hugged her tightly. "You were brilliant, sweetheart, absolutely brilliant." "Ms. Wilson." Michael's voice came from behind us. He stood there, looking smaller somehow, his previous arrogance replaced by desperation. "Catherine, could we speak privately?" I glanced at Olivia, who nodded and moved away. He swallowed hard. "I may have been hasty last year, short-sighted." "May have been." He ran a hand through his hair, more gray now than a year ago. "I was wrong? Okay. Is that what you want to hear? I was wrong about you, wrong about experience, wrong about everything." I studied him for a moment. "No, Michael, that's not what I want to hear. What I want is for you to understand something fundamental about this industry, about any industry. Success isn't about age. It's about wisdom, vision, and the courage to value people for their actual abilities." "And now," he asked quietly, "what happens to me?" "That depends on the board's decision." "And after that?" I smiled. "It depends on how well you interview with my daughter." The board's decision took less than an hour. They accepted our offer unanimously, desperate to salvage what they could from Vertex's decline. Within weeks, the acquisition was complete. True to our word, we retained most of Vertex's employees. After thorough evaluations, some of the younger hotshots Michael had promoted left immediately, unwilling to work in an environment that didn't worship youth above all else. As for Michael, I sat in my office 3 months later, reviewing performance reports, when Olivia walked in. "You'll never guess who just accepted a junior project manager position," she said, dropping into the chair across from me. "How did he do in the interview?" She grinned. "Let's just say he's very eager to prove he can adapt to a more experienced management style." I laughed. "And his first assignment?" "He'll be working under Janet Thompson's team. You remember Janet?" I did indeed. Janet was another too old employee Michael had pushed out. She joined Neural Dynamics early on and now led our largest development division. At 62, she was also our most innovative team leader. "Perfect," I said. Later that day, I walked through our office, observing our unique company culture in action. Young developers collaborated with industry veterans, each learning from the other. In one conference room, a 20-something programmer was explaining new coding frameworks to her older colleagues. In another, a gray-haired system architect was teaching junior developers about enterprise-level security protocols. I spotted Michael in the break room, looking somewhat shell-shocked as Janet outlined his first project. He glanced up and saw me watching. For a moment, our eyes met, and I saw the lesson had finally sunk in. Age was just a number. Success was about something far more important: the wisdom to recognize talent in all its forms. That evening, as Olivia and I shared a celebratory dinner, she raised her glass. "To proving them wrong." I shook my head, smiling. to proving ourselves right. We done more than get revenge. We created something that proved success had no age limit, only the limits we placed on ourselves. And somewhere in a junior project manager's cubicle, a humbled Michael Parker was learning that lesson the hard way.